Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. As you can see here,
Hey.
beautiful faces are front and center for everyone to see this week on episode 1 of the Barroom Podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking. We did a show last week, and that was episode 0. Well, guess what? That episode technically didn't count. So this is episode 1 of the Barroom Podcast, as you guys will see. And we're here with some wonderful guests tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics in the world of television, the world of movies, the world of entertainment. A lot of news came out this week. So I want to go ahead and start by introducing some of our panel that we have here today. I'm going to start with my right, which would be Cult Classic Cage, who is here joining us today for the first time ever. Say hello, Miss Cassie. I think you might be muted. You think we just lost your audio?
Yeah, I made a mistake. Oops. Dopey Cassie here from the Cult Classic Cage show on YouTube. And yeah, I like to talk about movies, mostly old school. I talk a lot about video games. I just made a few videos talking about the PlayStation event that happened yesterday. And one was a bit of a bait video, so it's cool. And I just like to have fun, and I love to talk about the things that I like, and if people are into that, all the more reason for me to want to talk about them. So you could follow me on YouTube at Cult Classic Cage or Twitch Cult Classic Cage, or you can hit me up on Twitter, same handle.
And below Cassie, we have Mr. TW Bootyhunter, who's back with us once again this week. Anything you got going on for the week?
Oh yeah. All I got going on is I put out a Mortal Kombat 11 arcade tower playthrough. So yeah, check that out if you guys want. And then on Monday, I'm putting out a rant on why modern movies suck.
Yes.
So, yeah. And other than that, I live stream. Well, actually, yeah, I live stream on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. But I'll let you know more about that on the outro.
And then right below me is the well-dressed Englishman who is the draw of this show, the face that runs the place, the one that everyone came here to see. Mr. Condescending Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I don't really have a fancy intro. I'm just me, and I will be.
It's good enough.
We'll all be, just kind of like venting out our frustrations when we. Hey, hello, mate. With the Star Wars and everything, so we're looking forward. I'm really looking forward to this episode 1, because the pilot got approved last week, so we got another one.
Some guy.
Nice. Yep. So we're officially on the air. Hey, we're doing better than a lot of people in Warner Media right now because they're just canceling shows left and right. So I mean, we're already off to a pretty good start as far as that one goes.
Can't argue with that. Hey,
so is everyone having
in the chat? What's up, bro?
Yeah, we got Spencer's in the chat with us. We got 9 Pixels in the chat with us. I'm pretty sure we got other people who will be joining us later on tonight as well over the course of the night. So I want to start off by asking you guys, did you have a good week? Is there anything exciting happened to you guys this week that you wanted to address, or are you having as much fun as the rest of us?
It's been a pretty chill week for me. I hope it stays that way at least. But yeah, nothing really exciting. Not at all.
For me personally, I'm happy because I got a new trailer for Final Fantasy 16. That's what I really wanted. Nice. That's like my most anticipated game. So that is great. And I'm also happy because my friends are happy. They're getting a bunch of games that they love, like Street Fighter and freaking Resident Evil.
I heard about that.
So I'm happy that everyone in my circle is happy. And I hope y'all are doing well too.
Well, see, Cassie's trying to undersell it because she doesn't want to be, she wants to be humble and not show off her new mic and her new video camera and everything. She put in a lot of money to look as good as she does today, and she just wanted everyone else to notice.
Hey, Tony Hawk's Pro Shooter, Pixel.
Yep. All right, then. Well, I guess we go ahead and just jump right into it now that we got the introductions out of the way. So I know a lot of you guys have heard of Star Wars. Everyone here has heard of Star Wars. You're aware of the Star Wars universe?
I'm at least aware of it. Never really watched the movies. Played more so the games, but yeah.
So if you've seen at least one Star Wars movie in your life, you pretty much know what the deal is. But this isn't about a movie. This is about a television series. A television series on streaming, which is receiving racist attacks, according to one of the stars of the show, Moses Ingram. Now, So we actually talked about this a little bit last week. So to kind of like recap exactly how we got here, Moses Ingram, who plays Reverend Salad, I should have looked at her name before I tried to say that because I know it's one of those like really, really complicated names. We'll get to it in a second.
But it's basically Angry Inquisitor who's replacing Obi-Wan on his own show.
Yes, exactly. So essentially, Darth Vader's number one. That's what we'll refer to her as for the purpose of this video. So last week she did an interview with The Independent saying that she was preparing for racist backlash towards her character. And it was very weird. We talked about it a little bit last week about how Lucasfilm pretty much sat her down and told her that, yeah, you should expect racist backlash due to the content of the character that you're playing on television. Because apparently in the quarters of Lucasfilm, many people believe that she is somehow the first Black woman to have ever been in the history of Star Wars in the 45-year history of the franchise. So they were essentially telling her, yeah, our fans aren't exactly used to people of color being on their television screen. So you might get some backlash for it. But, hey, if you do get anything, just let us know and we'll have her back. Now, this was back on the 24th of May. This was about a solid week before the series actually came out. So last Friday, as we were doing the show, the first episode dropped. And a few of our guys at Bounding in the Comics actually watched the first episode to their own misery. I think is the best word to describe it. And as Spencer says in the chat, it's just bad. And I pretty much, that's what a lot of people felt when they saw the first episode of this Disney Plus show. It's hard to even say TV show because it's on streaming, so it's not really like your classical TV show, but I guess it's a show nonetheless. Well, if you guys were enjoying Memorial Day weekend, you were getting back into your work week, you would notice that at the dead of night, all of a sudden, Star Wars official Twitter account came out and essentially condemned racism towards the actress. Now, some of you guys may have been like, well, wait a second, what exactly happened? Because I was enjoying my break. Did something happen that I was not aware of? Well, let's recap over here, Bounding in the Comics. This was an article written by our John Trent saying that Star Wars makes a bizarre late-night tweet about racism and Obi-Wan Kenobi actress Moses Ingram. So to kind of fast forward you guys to exactly what happened here. Now, I want you guys to look at the timeline of this one, and then we'll go ahead and explain exactly what happened. Star Wars tweeted this on their official account on Monday night at 2:15 in the morning, saying that we are proud to welcome Moses Ingram to the Star Wars family and excited for Reva's story to unfold. If anyone intends to make her feel uncomfortable or unwelcome, we have one thing to say: we resist. And then they followed up that tweet by posting this one, same minute, saying that there are 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. So many people woke up, saw this, and had no idea what had happened because obviously this was tweeted at 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So no one knew what was the context of this. We talked about the article last week, but no one actually saw what caused this whole Twitter backlash in the first place. Well, a few hours later, we discovered that. Let me go ahead and drop this one over here. A few hours later, we kind of got context of what exactly happened. And Moses Ingram had shared screenshots on her Instagram account of the abuse that she received for being a part of the Star Wars universe. Now, this was something that she tweeted about 1 o'clock in the morning Monday night. Nice. So this was about less than an hour before Star Wars had released their official statement. So if you wonder what Star Wars was referring to, here are some of the screenshots of some of the messages that she put up on her own personal Instagram page. The first one, and keep in mind, there's no names or any information on any of these accounts. So I'm pretty sure if you guys have used Instagram before, essentially you'll get a message from like a random person, something like this. A lot of times it may be spam. But obviously, if you know the person, there's like a trend here. But so here's some of the messages that she received overnight that Star Wars condemned. And this is one that says here, your days are numbered, which is an extremely vague tweet. But a lot of people took that to be a possible death threat. Now, I will say that tweet itself, I guess not tweet, but message itself is vague enough that you can interpret that as a threat. But so far, you don't really see anything too concerning here. But then we go down just a little bit. And then there's the next message. Now, before I explain this message, I just want to let you guys know that all the big white words on the top right there So what she did was that when she posted these messages, she had like some kind of rap song that was playing in the background. If you know, you use the Instagram filter, where if you play a song, it'll just like display the lyrics on whatever your whatever the picture is. So the words on top have nothing to do with the actual abuse that she was receiving. I'm gonna go ahead and read this tweet right here from another anonymous person that says, "You are not the first nigga in Star Wars, fool." And I wanted to point out the fact that he misspelled Star Wars with 2 S's, which is very which is very suspect. I'll get back to that one in a second. So that's really the first message that they use. Like I said, these are racist messages, but the way that I read that one, I took it that was another black person that wrote that tweet. But I'll go down over here.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So I'll go down here. This is message number 3 that says, "You suck, loser. You're a diversity hire, and you won't be loved or remembered for this acting role." In tweet. And I noticed that the person who wrote this apparently has a Simpsons avatar, but like I said, no other information outside of that on Instagram. Then she posted this one. Now this is apparently a thumbnail to a YouTube video. I don't know the YouTuber's name. I think it's Josh or Spencer are here that they know exactly who this is. No, but the picture here. It says diversity hire human shield operation. Get behind the darkies is real. Now I wanted to point out because someone we had talked about this on Wednesday night. This is actually a reference to the South Park movie. If you remember the movie Bigger, Blacker, South Park, there was a scene in the film where they were basically at war and they decided to put all the black people in the front line. And the actual operation was called Operation Get Behind the Darkies. So my God. This was a reference to a Star Wars movie. I mean, to not Star Wars movie, a South Park movie. But obviously, some people thought that there was just a person like being racist, but there was context in this one. So I thought that was funny after the fact, but we will get back to this one in a second. And then this one here is arguably, you can say, out of the ones that she put on here, was the one that you could say was the most racist out of all of them. Now here she says that the person who wrote this says, "Ayo Kenobi, you ain't finna run forever, white boy. Get back here, third sister Obi-Wan Kenobi." And he replies, "You have now been converted to the St. George of Florian Star Wars. Are you happy? How the fuck does the alien know Ebonics?" Now, out of context, that makes really no sense whatsoever. It just makes a combination of words.
I would laugh more at that than get insulted, like
because there's no because there's exactly like there's no actual context to like anything that person just said. Like you just read it like straight up, and it's like, what? Like, what the hell are you even trying to say? Exactly. So those were the 5 messages that she posted on her Instagram, just exposing the quote unquote racist backlash she was receiving.
And those are softballs, bro.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. So, and I wanted to keep this in mind of how the timeline works. So last week before the show came out, she did an interview, basically signaling that yes, it's probably going to be racist backlash to my character because I'm black. The show came out on Friday. There wasn't really much positive buzz around the show whatsoever. There wasn't really any buzz around the show whatsoever. It just kind of came and went for the most part. And then Monday comes along, late Monday night, all of these messages pour at the dead of night, at least the Eastern Coast time. Maybe if this is West Coast time, they decide to release these messages at 10 or 11. And then all of a sudden, the Star Wars account starts making responses to this, condemning this, saying that this is wrong. And then Moses also makes a statement later on, which I'll play for a second, but I want to go ahead and just get your thoughts so far on how this story unfolded. I'm going to start with Cassie. What do you think so far about how this whole thing came about and the quote-unquote racist messages that she's received for starring on a Disney Plus series associated with Star Wars?
Well, the first thing I'd like to ask is that isn't it Disney's fault and Disney being racist for setting up their modern black actors to fail?
Yes.
That's how I feel because they put minority actors in situations and in roles that are abysmal, that are unacceptable because they can't write worth a damn. But when it comes to these general comments from who knows who, they're soft, man. I came from Xbox 360 Call of Duty lobbies.
Exactly.
And I was 14 when I started them fights. And I fought back, and some heinous things were said in those days. And as always being the one female in those lobbies, I had to be extra as fuck. So I'm prepared for anything. This stuff right here, this is like baby shit. Like I look at that and I'm just like, like it's nothing to me. It really. The thing is, it's like it doesn't matter what you do, you're always gonna get hate for something. There's always gonna be some asshole out there that wants to have something snarky or rude to say, because not everyone's gonna like you. That's just a part of life. And either you could cry about it, or you could just ignore it, or you could say something back that you want to say. Those are your options. But it's always, I'm a victim, kiss my ass because I'm a victim. Meanwhile, these people are wealthy, they have a lot of nice things. They clearly don't know what it's like to be a regular person, especially if this little shit right here is going to make someone cave.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say, just on the record, I have been in some of those lobbies, especially the Modern Warfare 2 days. All I can say is that I've been called a lot worse by a lot younger. So let's throw that out there. TW, what are your thoughts after reading some of these messages that we have so far?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I've been in some of those lobbies with y'all. I was also part of the internet wrestling community where autism aplenty.
Yeah.
I will say that much.
Yep.
Fucking A. But yeah.
We'll get to that later on, trust me.
Yeah, but this is more like Star Wars' fault. For instead of just focusing on the quality of the show, you know, just like other modern media, you got to say, hey, we're not racist, we got a black person. And instead of just focusing on the quality of the damn show. And then it's also, I would say, like, you know, on the other side of the people who are like, you know, pissed off or whatever, like sending hate towards her. It's like those people are just degenerates anyways, racist degenerates. Let them be mad. I don't know how in 2022 these people can't handle seeing someone black in like a major role or whatever, but yeah, fuck them. If I was that chick, I mean, I know chicks are a little bit more vulnerable to that type of like criticism and stuff, but even then, still, it's just like, let them be mad. Do you? So, you know, that's how I feel about that situation. It's really more so Disney's fault, or than anything else, making such a big deal out of it.
Yep.
So, Josh, I want to ask you your thoughts, and I also want to ask you, do you think there's anything interesting about the timing of these messages and this whole campaign? Like I said, this happened right at the very end of Memorial Day. People are getting ready to head back to their work week, and at the dead of night, all of this just explodes out of nowhere. It's like, why didn't we see this on Friday night when the show actually released? How come they waited till over the weekend to all of a sudden come back? I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, because, you know, you can't be a conspiracy theorist here on YouTube, but I think it's worth the question, right?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, the reason you mentioned the timing, right? And that thing is right. It's obviously because they had it like prepared, and she was like, probably somebody at Disney went like, okay, I need you to post all of these messages that maybe we're gonna, you know, send to you, and post them, and then we're gonna just make a big deal out of it, and we're gonna repost them on the Star Wars account or whatever, right? So we get the whole thing. So the one thing that I'm actually kind of offended by the whole thing is, man, it's June, right? It's the wrong demographic you're trying to pander to right now. I mean, where is your right? So your rainbow character in the you know, on the show, right? Don't defend that, right? So why there's no misogyny? Why there's no homophobia in it, right? So I guess, you know, it's the wrong character they're trying to defend right now. I don't know, show me what's the name for that? Okay, the alphabet character. Show me the alphabet character. And then make a big deal out of it. It's June. I mean, get with the times, Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yo, guys, let's be real now. None of these actors that they've brung forward over the past few years, none of them compare to a Billy D. Williams. Let's be real.
Hell to the no.
None of them do.
They didn't even make a big deal about Samuel L. Jackson.
No,
you know, as
like East Windu. None of them stack up to him either.
Exactly. So I'll let
more
Josh go.
recently, John Boyega, right, in the Star Wars trilogy, the new trilogy,
Yeah.
right? No backlash at all. If anything,
No.
Disney themselves actually were the racist when they tried to hide the character, not hide it, but they actually made them smaller for the Chinese audience, right? Because they can't really have a black person be, the main character of a Star Wars movie in China. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up too, because we'll get to Jada in a second, but I'm glad you brought up John Boyega, because when this story broke and all the media outlets started running with their stories, they were already running with the same narrative that they were pretty much setting up a week before, saying that, people were racist against John Boyega too. It's actually John Boyega didn't receive any racist backlash for his role in the movie whatsoever. As a matter of fact, John Boyega actually called out Disney for trying to minimize the black actors in the Star Wars universe. Remember that whole deal when the final Star Wars movie came out, and he started being more vocal about how Disney were treating black actors, especially in the Star Wars universe. But somehow they turned that around to, actually that was the fans that were being racist towards him, completely, trying to flip what he was saying here in the first place. But the thing that's suspicious to me, to say the least, is that the way that I saw this story is that, okay, you did an interview in the Independent a week before the show debut, saying that, okay, we're kind of expecting there to be racist backlash to the character based on the fact of my race, right?
Yeah.
So you go in, and what people were initially complaining about, and there was concerns about her character, but it wasn't about her race. The concerns is that this is an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So what they thought that Disney was trying to do here was that they were essentially trying to prop up another, I guess you could say, another person of color, minority character, whatever you want to say, to essentially what would be a bait and switch by saying, we're going to give you Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but here's the character that you're really going to like. Here's the character that you're really going to be the take-home away, and people weren't going to like that because, believe it or not, even though people haven't been very excited about the Star Wars universe up to this point, there were people out there that were excited about Ewan McGregor coming back and reprising his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially since he hasn't been that character in almost 20 years. So you come in there, you're expecting, a series about Obi-Wan, and what you're going to get is what people have said when they've seen the first few episodes of the series is that, Obi-Wan Kenobi basically gets the Luke Skywalker treatment, where his character isn't anything what it was in the previous series. They kind of dumbed him down. They kind of made him a depressing old man. And the focus of this series is really the character of what Moses Ingram is playing, Reva. And that's going to be the main focus of the series. So people were complaining about them pulling focus and pulling a bait and switch. So what they decided to do was that they decided to take that anger and redirect it and say, oh no, they're totally just mad because she's a black woman and she's on a predominant role in the Disney series. So then the next thing you know, the series comes out. People are at most are going, it's not exactly what I expected. And then all of a sudden after Memorial Day, because it couldn't be at Memorial Day, because if this dropped the Monday before, the Sunday before, no one would have talked about it, obviously, because of the holiday. You wait till the holiday ends, and all of a sudden, this becomes the number one trending story on Twitter for an entire day, and everyone's writing articles condemning the racist Star Wars audience, which they've been trying to do for so many years now, especially since The Last Jedi. There's still people out there that cannot accept the fact that The Last Jedi was a terrible movie that most Star Wars fans did not like. But they framed the argument of, if you don't like the movie, then you don't like women or you're sexist, because they know in their mind they had an agenda with that film, and seeing their agenda being rejected by the masses, the only way they can save face is to demonize the fan base. That's pretty much what you're seeing here again with this movie, is that they had an agenda going in. They knew people weren't going to like it. So what do? We jump ahead of it by saying, oh no, it's the fans that are the problem, not us, not anything that we done. This has basically been Star Wars' playbook for the last 5 years. What do you think? I'll start with Cassie.
I mean, if the Star Wars fan base is so racist and Disney is so truly good, righteous, and all that, why don't they just stop making Star Wars content? Just tell us, you don't deserve this, and we're not going to give it to you because you're a bunch of racists. I mean, if that's really how they feel, stop making them. That's how
I can tell you why they spent some of $4 billion.
Look, you and me, we all know why they won't do it, but it's a question I pose to them all the time. Like, if you really feel this way, why do you keep doing this? Because at the end of the day, they don't care. And that's what we need to make apparent, that they don't care, and ask the questions that show they blatantly do not care. All of this is really just a marketing tool more than anything else. But yeah, they clearly it's not about good advertising anymore, because advertising doesn't get people to watch their shit shows. It's really just what gets trending. Oh, talking about racism, sexism, and all this stuff. And I feel like that's something at some point it's gonna die down, because people are gonna stop caring, because it's just every week it's just something new. It's just something to bitch and moan about. And the sad thing is, when real things do happen that are unjust, they're gonna get overshadowed. And that's really the sad thing about it, because it's like at this point I tune out. It's like things go through one ear and out the other. And it's like, oh, somebody's complaining about something racist. Oh, it's just another Tuesday. Like, and it's sad, because if there's true injustice, I want to speak against it. But there's just so much fake shit that it's kind of like a blackout, to where we don't see the real things going on anymore. That's how I feel. It's sad.
Do you agree, TW?
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, man. It's like, it's so stupid. Because the thing about it is like, yeah, there is like racist shit, but like she said, like, there's racist shit, but happening, real racist shit, real racism, but that gets overshadowed with all these people crying racism because something doesn't go their damn way or some shit. Like, come on, man, you're just trying to weaponize this shit.
What do you think, Josh?
I just had an idea and I completely forgot what I was about to say. But the one thing is, well, the main problem is that the people, that keep complaining, which is, the majority is just us. We keep consuming the product. So that's the problem. We may still, just watch a thing, pay for the service. I've got to admit, I pay for Disney Plus. Right, and I did watch the first episode, but I didn't give him the second one. My brother is actually watching the show. He enjoyed the first episode. So then again, I've got to say, my brother is a self-proclaimed Marxist, socialist as well. So whatever, for what
we've gone through the story with your brother,
right? So for what it's worth, that's probably the reason why he enjoys the all of the pandering and stuff. But yeah, that's the problem. We keep supporting these things, and I'm actually guilty of it as well. So I could cancel the thing, and I'm actually going to wait, because my brother is enjoying it. And he's the only one watching the thing right now. So probably after Obi-Wan, if he didn't enjoy it, or if he enjoyed it anyway, I think I'm just going to cancel the subscription. And then I'm just going to, I don't know, not watch it. Simple as that.
I think at the end of the day, we all have our vices, some things that we're willing to give a try. But I think the main thing is that sometimes we're going to cave to one thing here and there. But it is good to try and hold back. But it's also good that while you do cave to this one thing, to support something new that's good, that you can actually get behind. So if you're gonna do something bad, just try and axe it out by supporting someone or something that actually is good. And hopefully with time, that'll create competition for these companies that clearly have no competition, because they're all in bed with each other.
The Daily Wire is actually producing movies, and they look pretty good. I haven't seen a single one, but I hear good things.
And my thing is it should be more studios than just Daily Wire. It shouldn't be the only one, but we can talk about that one for another day. So let's jump into the update on the story.
Look, but to be quite fair, Disney keeps buying all these companies as well, all of these production companies, movie companies, and like Fox and whatever. And at one point, it's just going to be Disney. So even if it is the Daily Wire, just doing the good content, that is not really pandering to the demographics and nothing. It's just good content. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think we all would be, for the most part. So I want to go in and go to the progress of this story. So when the messages came out and Star Wars came out condemning the messages that Moses received, a few hours later, Ewan McGregor himself came out and talked about the situation. So this is the message that he sent. Let me go ahead and full screen this one so everyone can see it.
this weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all time. And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together. However, it seems that some of the fan base from this influential fan base have decided to attack Moses Ingram online and send her the most horrendous racist DMs. And I heard some of them this morning, and it just broke my heart. Moses is a brilliant actor. She's a brilliant woman, and she's absolutely amazing in this series. She brings so much to the series. She brings so much to the franchise. And it just sickened me to my stomach to hear that this had been happening. I just want to say, as the leading actor in the series, as the executive producer on the series, that we stand with Moses. We love Moses. And if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. There's no place for racism in this world. And I totally stand with Moses.
So that was the personal message that he put out, which was also posted by the official Star Wars account as well. So obviously the takeaway here, and I don't know who wrote this article, some guy named Spencer, it's not important. But the title here says that, if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. Now look, obviously someone told Ewan McGregor that Moses was suffering these racist messages, and that obviously he went out there to put out a statement in support of her. I don't think there's anything initially wrong with that, but obviously we see how a story like this starts from where we went from the interview about a couple of weeks ago down to the messages. Now it's basically everyone's trying to come out to condemn the quote unquote racist Star Wars fan base for their hateful rhetoric and their bigotry, essentially, right? Off of a couple of messages that were posted on Instagram that we can't verify. We actually can't go back and say, hey, it was this guy that said this or this guy that said that. It could have been trolls, obviously from some of the spelling errors on some of those messages. There are probably people who weren't even from the United States to begin with. But obviously, this was used. Ewan's message was used to essentially condemn the Star Wars fan base as a whole. Like we said, we talked about this before. This has gone on for the last few years, ever since Disney has taken over the Star Wars property. Since Lucasfilm has been taken over by Disney, this has essentially been the MO for this, that if you don't like what we're doing with the Star Wars universe, then you're just not a true fan of Star Wars. Now, does anyone think that that's a quote unquote wise marketing strategy to essentially tell your long-term fan base, who probably, let's be honest, knows more about the Star Wars universe than the people who you're employing to write and direct a lot of these series? Is that a smart idea to kind of condemn the fan base as a whole over a couple of messages online that no one even knows anything about to begin with?
Not at all.
Yeah, I don't think so, man, to be honest.
I mean, they already know that the fan base is fractured. And at this point, they know that they can't repair it, so they just have to double down. And that's what they do.
Yeah, and as I said, that's been the MO, double and triple down. And now, because people are, they're getting a little upset because they feel like that, well, now they're the ones being attacked. So, first of all, there's two separate issues here. You have the fact that Lucasfilm is constantly attacking Star Wars fans, which is already pissing people off to begin with, because I don't know if you noticed, but you can't exactly spit in people's face too many times and expect them to come back when your new stuff comes out to begin with. But then, obviously, the issue with the show is that, well, the show really just isn't that good in and of itself, right? Well, then, right after Ewan McGregor posted that one, a couple of days later, the reviews of the Star Wars show made it to Rotten Tomatoes. And obviously, they've had, I think, 3 episodes. Well, there's 2 episodes. I think one of them leaked, a third episode may have leaked beforehand. So essentially, most people have seen probably 2 to 3 episodes of this already, and they don't have very good things to say about it. But of course, when that happens, we got this. Is that Obi-Wan is being review bombed by Disney as Disney calls out racist. So now the argument is that, well, these racist Star Wars fans that don't like a black woman, they're going on Rotten Tomatoes and they're actively review bombing the show. Now, review bombing is a word that they completely made up a few years ago when they were trying to defend Captain Marvel, because obviously the media was carrying Captain Marvel across the finish line by proclaiming it was one of the best MCU films ever, when it clearly wasn't. And then when people started voicing their opinion about the movie, Rotten Tomatoes went through a whole thing of literally changing the way that their site works so that audience members were, I guess, limited, or made it even harder for them to voice their opinions on the thing because their opinions differed from what the critics were saying. And this is what's happening with Obi-Wan. Now, let me pull this out here. So they're talking about how the Rotten Tomato rating is different than the critics rating. Now, I pulled this up today, and I will say this. I might even pull up the article to even prove it. But let me pull up the Rotten Tomatoes on here. And now, as you can see here, the current tomato score was 87% from critics. Obviously, no surprise there. And the audience score right now is at 61%. Now, when I checked this one just a couple of days ago, the audience score was, I think, as low as 55%. As I last checked, it was definitely rotten. And now it's gone up.
It was 56 this morning. So I'm like surprised because the show is actually being review bombed positively right now, I suppose. So that 56, that's 61. It turned from 56 to 61, right? Because people are, again, boomer reviews.
Yeah.
Right, so basically review bombing it positively, and there's probably like a bunch of reviews, 5-star reviews that go like, this is the best Star Wars ever, or whatever. And there's no 57 last night.
Yeah, he said it was 57% last night. Like I said, when I saw it, it was 56. So yeah. So what I think is happening here is because of the article that I just showed you guys a few minutes ago about them complaining about, oh, this thing's being review bombed. I think that Rotten Tomatoes is going in and they're actively deleting negative reviews of the show in order to boost the score back up to a positive rating. Because like I said, we saw them do this with Captain Marvel because people were posting negative reviews on Captain Marvel on the audience side, and then they ended up deleting those reviews in order to help out the score. And I did this about an article. We were talking about this with the Ricky Gervais movie last week. How, if you notice with Rotten Tomatoes, there's a lot of movies where you can tell that there's an agenda by the media and by the critics, because the show will either get really positive reviews from the critics and get really negative reviews from the audience, or the media hates it and then everyone else loves it. And you see like these big shifts where it's like, oh, it's like 14% critics but 90% on audiences. So you can tell that there's a war going on between what the media thinks, what the critics think, versus what the people actually believe.
Right. So go to the Ghostbusters movie, the 2016 one. That is the best example I can think of basically it shows the critics and the audience not really connecting in that regard. And the only reason why it's got and the only reason why it's fresh with a 73%, which is actually lower than it was at the time, against the 49%, is because it was getting backlash apparently because it was just an all-female cast and nothing to do with the fact that the movie is horrible.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, as you can see here, the Ghostbusters 2016 movie, 73%, but certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, there's definitely nothing fishy going on there. And then only 49% with audiences. And then in an article that I wrote last week talking about the Ricky Gervais story, I also brought up a lot of examples about how you can see audience split here. Like the Ricky Gervais comedy bit that we did last week has 14% with critics, but 92% with audiences. And if you go down here, you'll see even more examples of this split. The Last Jedi, 91% with critics, 42% with audiences. Sausage Party, 82% critics, 50% with audiences. Death Wish, 18% critics, 71% audiences. Peppermint, 1370. I'm Not Ashamed, 2082. And then the Hannah Gadsby comedy special, 100% with critics, but 26% with audiences. So I guess to go ahead and just kind of wrap up this topic here before we move on to our next one, is that clearly when it comes to the media, when it comes to stories like this, and when it comes to shows like this, especially with the Disney brand, because we see this a lot with Disney more than anybody else, is that there's a narrative out there that they want this show to be better than what it actually is. So what do you think about the war between, especially Rotten Tomatoes, with critics and audiences? And do you think that in the long run, it makes the situation worse, trying to, I guess, portray a narrative that something is better or worse than it actually is when audiences believe a completely different story? I'll start with Cassie.
It's just that I just noticed that they just want to weaponize the people that are willing to hear them out. And that's why I think that when you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes and you're seeing the numbers go up, you're getting the people that'll support you to give your bullshit a 10 out of 10, just despite the people that are, racist, sexist, bigots, all that stuff. And it's just it's a culture war, man. Just get people to hate each other. And they're willing to act out in any simple way. And that's why you do see a lot of this stuff going on. And the people that do have any little bit of power, like the reviewers, the critical reviewers, they use it. I mean, when they said that Dave Chappelle's special was trash, when anybody that actually likes comedy could sit there and laugh all day at what he's talking about, I mean, you're full of shit. They gave him such a low score on the one before this most recent one.
Yeah. I don't know the one
Stick and Stones, yeah.
Yeah, Sticks and Stones. Like that one, I watched it with my parents, and it's like my parents are fucking dying. I'm dying. Like dude's just funny, and for you to sit there and actually give him a low critic score just because you don't like him or what he has to say. I mean, like, we're seeing people with a little bit of power using it. And that's just what's going to continue to happen, because clearly our country's so fractured, and even the world, man, that they want to weaponize you to take action in any way, shape, or form. And it's sad. And it's like when you're just one of us or just somebody, a regular person, you don't really have power, but you try to do what you can because you want to express yourself. And these people just constantly beat down on you and then act like they're the victims when really they have more power than most of us do. And it sucks. It really does.
The bullies who pretend to be the victims. I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
Exactly.
TW, what do you think about the whole
it's
critics versus audience?
Yeah, it's exactly like you said, man. It's like we either got to share the same opinion, or you're just or we're just going to demonize you. And why do we give this Rotten Tomatoes thing any sort of like precedence anyway? Like any sort of like credence or anything like that? Because it's just like anything else that reviews things. It's like, I don't see what's so important. If you like the movie, you like it. Don't worry about what some stupid review says. I mean, ironically, I do the same thing for video games, but even still, like, yeah,
you just got to go to the people that like the same stuff that you like and get a basic determination.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can really just do that, but you don't have to demonize other folks that like something different. And yeah, man, I found it so weird with these sort of like LGBT groups. You're becoming the very thing that you hate, which are fascist. You idiots realize this, right?
Yep.
I'm just sitting here, I'm so confused by this. How in the hell has this not crossed these people's minds?
It's all power.
Josh.
Grab, bro.
Yeah. So, Josh, I'll wrap up this topic with you. About the audiences, basically just critics versus audience when it comes to shows and movies like this.
Well, it's the same thing, right? So they create this narrative, they push it down everybody else's throats, and then make you believe that you're in the wrong just because you don't like something that is low quality, but for the wrong reasons. They make you believe that you are, again, that you're in the wrong. You didn't like Star Wars, for instance. You didn't like Obi-Wan because it's a bad show. But no, you're a racist now because you didn't like Moses Ingram's or Ingram Moses, whatever the name is, character on the show, which I hated within the first 5 minutes. And it had nothing to do with race. It had to do with characterization. It was just awful, right? But no, I'm a racist right now, apparently. And that's it. That's it.
Everyone who...
as well, right? So the same thing I said last week, comedy is comedy. If you don't really find it funny, don't watch it, don't get offended by it, and tell everybody else that they shouldn't watch it or they shouldn't laugh at any jokes. I don't know, it's just comedy. That's all it is.
Like I said, I think it all at the end of the day just comes down to controlling a narrative. And especially when you look at Rotten Tomatoes, when they show that, hey, this show has 80 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes, that means it's a good show. But then the audience is saying, no, this show is terrible. It's like they're essentially trying to be like, no, discredit what the audience says. The critic says the show is great. So that's a narrative that we're going to run with. But that's the thing. Obviously, when it comes to accusations of racism, it's very, very loose in its definition these days. There used to be a time where you can clearly spot off someone who didn't like someone for the color of their skin or for a certain race, for their ideals and things of that nature. Which moves us on to our second topic here. And I want you guys to watch this video. Now, Cassie, TW, obviously you guys know a little bit about the world of professional wrestling. Josh may be a little bit of a...
I stopped watching wrestling when I was like 5 years old.
Hey, yeah, so you, man,
I got no idea.
You don't want to get back into that.
So you would be someone considered a normie in the world of professional wrestling. So I'd love to get your topic on this next topic here. So we're gonna go on to a NXT superstar, which most of you guys know as Nikkita Lyons. Now I want you guys to go ahead and watch this video here. I'm going to get your initial reactions to it, then we'll get to the story surrounding this specific video. So on Memorial Day, Nikkita Lyons, NXT superstar, posted this video and says, "Land of the free because of the brave." And she posted a song called "The Patriot" by a rapper named Topher. So I'm going to play the video. It's not very long. It's only 14 seconds, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys right here.
War between good and evil, watching our fists collide. Battle for our freedom now, to the streets we ride. Flags waving all around, pages full of pride. This is where we make a stand, no more give or take. March around the Capitol, storm the city gate. War between good and evil.
So that's pretty much it. That's the whole video right there. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, what was the problem with that video? Did you guys notice something wrong with that video? Anyone?
Honestly, not at all. I mean, it was pretty funny when the nunchucks kind of flew off her hand at the end of that, and then the only other thing I noticed is the obvious, pretty luscious ass. But
right, Spencer is just getting everybody's panties in a twist right now.
Oh no, exactly. So, believe it or not, that 14-second clip that was posted on Nikkita Lyons' Twitter account has her now being accused of being a racist. Why? Because of the choice of song. So if you didn't catch this one, this was a story from earlier this week. It says, Black Twitter attacks WWE star Nikkita Lyons for supporting a conservative Black artist. Now, I know you guys may think that this is a parody, but this is actually a real story and something that actually happened earlier this week. It sounds like a joke, but trust me, it's not. So Nikkita Lyons, NXT superstar, she's only 22 years old, but obviously she's made a big impact on WWE. A lot of people expect her to be a big star for the company in the coming years. She has a pretty big fan base online. Obviously, people have taken, her athleticism for a girl her size and her beauty. So she posted that video, which I played earlier today, and people were outraged by the video, and people were calling her a racist and a right-wing nut because the artist who made that song is a Black conservative artist named Topher, and the song is called "The Patriot." Now, Topher is a former Air Force, he's an Air Force veteran. I know somebody pointed that out to me earlier this week. He's an Air Force veteran, and he did the song with a guy called the Marine rapper, who's obviously a Marine Corps veteran, who's also an advocate of military veterans across the United States. Now, the song called "The Patriot" was released on January 6th of last year. And I think we all know what happened on January 6th of last year as well.
Yeah.
But the song came out on the same day as the Capitol riots. It came out before. So people are saying that, by posting that song, by using that song, she supports storming the Capitol and she supports, quote unquote, racist MAGA supporters, even though the two guys in the song are both Black. So I'll play just a little bit of the video here. Obviously, they explain a little bit exactly what happened, because apparently this song was taken off of some streaming services for a couple of weeks because people thought that, this was about storming the Capitol or whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys a little bit of the song.
Collide, battle for our freedom now, to the streets we ride. Flags waving all around, pages full of pride. This is what we make a a stand, no more give or take. March around the Capitol, storm the city gates, putting pressure on their necks until the truth breaks. All walls of corruption, take out all the snakes. Star Spangled Banner, got it playing loud and proud. People from all walks of life filling up the crowd. Defend the Constitution, many warriors avowed, casting down any among us who have bucked and cow. Enough.
So you guys get the idea. So this is the song that she posted online. Well, obviously, some people got very, very upset by this, and some people decided to not only condemn Nikkita Lyons, but outright attack her. Now, obviously, in the segment before this, we talked about some of the message that Moses Ingram received, that the entire internet came out and defended her against those horrible racist comments that she received, right? So I'm going to read to you some of the comments that Nikkita Lyons received, and we'll get a little bit of contrast on here. So obviously a lot of these comments comes from members of quote unquote Black Twitter, and I'll get to Black Twitter in just a second. But mostly it's members of the Black community who promote Black nationalism, and they usually attack people based on their race. They usually target white people. Asians are a lot of their targets as well. So when she posted that video, this is some of the messages that she received. He said, Didn't folks say a while back that Nikkita Lyons was on that MAGA shit? Why is this news again? I remember goofy, shameless niggas finding out months ago being on that I can fix her wave. Disgusting. Some of the other comments that she received. All that hard work to get her ass fat, and she got Negroes drooling all over her, down the drain. What the fuck was she thinking? And then you put in some hashtags, KKK cakes, Donald Rump, things of that nature. Some other messages on here saying, y'all be thirsting over butterfaced MAGA white women because they got a little shape to them. I want better for you niggas.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
and then, of course,
you know the same person that's saying that is probably thirsting after these same women. Like, get out of here, man.
And then here's another one. It said, never forget that mediocre white women y'all obsessed with. Nikkita Lyons is a MAGA gun-loving right-wing nut job. So those are just a few of the comments that she received based on the fact that she used the song from a Black conservative rapper. That now people are accusing her of being MAGA and racist. I know this makes no sense to normal people. I'm pretty sure Josh, just looking at his face, has no idea what's going on right now. But that's pretty much the rundown of how this thing came out. So then the rapper himself, the guy who's in the song that everyone's complaining about, heard about the backlash that she was receiving. And he responded to her directly by saying, if y'all expect my girl Nikkita Lyons to be pressed by y'all's unwanted hate, then you don't recognize a true patriot. And then he also went to, when people started attacking him based on his support, he also said, Black beta males are mad that one of their idols rocks for my music and they're throwing a temper tantrum right now. So that's essentially what the whole story goes down to. Nikkita Lyons didn't directly address any of the hate that she was receiving, but she did make a couple of posts. I'm pretty
sure she doesn't care.
She made a couple posts online pretty much saying that, it's all one love and that she supports, Topher. So she's back to the rapper in question that everyone's complaining about, but she didn't address any of the people who were attacking her directly. But obviously there was many, many attacks on her online. Her name trended for her couple of days there just because of that song. So I want to go ahead and start with Cassie and kind of make our way down. What do you think of this whole thing? Do you think that Nikkita Lyons is actually a racist because she likes a Black conservative rapper on Twitter? Do you think people are just being a little absurd?
Yeah, that's some serious mental gymnastics right there. I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I mean, I know this chick. The reason why is because I have two friends that obsessively talk about her, and one sends the other videos just like that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how I know of her. I mean, what's next? Is Bruce Lee's daughter going to go at her because she's tossing nunchucks like Bruce? Like, it is crazy, man. Like, look, I'm a libertarian, and at the end of the day, I just want people to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And when it comes down to it, these people are authoritarians, and they want to control you in any way, and their biggest and only power is their power in numbers. And as a libertarian, I do realize we'll always be at a disadvantage because naturally most libertarians tend to not get together. They're more individualists. And when I look at this, it's like I feel like she probably has very similar beliefs to me. Clearly, she's like pretty patriotic. She does her own thing, it seems like, and she doesn't want to get involved since she's kind of just let it go by, it seems like, and just tried to be positive despite all this shit. But it just makes me like her more. And now I have a reason to like her because I don't really care about her ass. But the fact that she's a supporter of guns, man, you get a thumbs up for me. I support you. I hope WWE takes you a long ways. I mean, at the end of the day, if people are going to be petty like this, it's just going to make other people support her.
Yeah, exactly.
So, TW, what do you think about this whole story? Because I know you've been dying to get comment on this one.
I mean, not really, but yeah, honestly, man, I think it's stupid. I think once again, it's just Black Twitter being Black Twitter, you know, bitter, you know, just basically like making us seem like idiots, you know, us as a people seem like complete idiots. You're no better than the people that you're actually calling racist. Nikkita Lyons, I'm pretty sure Nikkita Lyons doesn't give a damn. As for the Topher song, I mean, hey, if she likes it, she likes it. And I mean, I personally couldn't get into it. I mean, I appreciate the message, but the beat was cringe. Everything about it was cringe. But I appreciate the message, but it's not
your cup of tea, just to say the least.
Yeah, nah.
So Josh, as a complete normie and a complete outsider to this world, to both Black Twitter and pro wrestling, what are your thoughts about what you just heard?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing, right? So Twitter in general is like such a small minority. It's a vocal minority, but it's just at the end of the day, it's just a minority. It doesn't matter if like, right, sure, in this particular case, Black Twitter, I suppose, is just like, you know, Black people.
Yeah.
But it's still like in the grand scale of Twitter, it's always that very small minority of people that get offended, causing these, you know, all of this, right? It doesn't matter what demographic you're part of. It's just, I don't know. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing that it feels kind of tailored as well. It's, I don't know. It's the same. I don't know, mate. I don't watch this. I kind of understand though the you know, I don't know. I got nothing else to say.
Very much. So, I mean, I just wanted to just go over a quick little thing about that story. I mean, in my mind, it's just really like ridiculous how people are trying to like conflate the two. Like I said, it even says like in the video, like, look, this was done like before whatever the issue on January 6th. So people are trying to argue that, oh, well, this storm was endorsing Storm in the Capitol. It's like the song was already released before that even happened. So there's no correlation between the song. But outside of that one line when he says storm the streets or something like that people try to conflate that with January 6th. So there's a lot of conflation there. Like I said, people trying to call her a racist just based on the fact that, you know, that she's playing a song by two Black artists. It's like, come on, you guys are like seriously like reaching now for something to be outraged about. It's getting pretty ridiculous. But speaking of people who are reaching for things to complain about, let's switch topics a little bit here. Now, as we all know, it is June, which means that it is Pride Month. And I'm pretty sure you guys all know that it's Pride Month because every single corporation in the world, except for, you know, the Middle East, because, you know, so every single corporation in the world has changed their logo to rainbow flags. So better way to start off Pride Month than talking about Elliot Page, who talked about the fact that when she was on the red carpet for the Juno premiere many years ago, that she was forced to wear a dress and that it almost killed her. So let's get a little bit into this story. So Elliot Page, as you used to know, who used to be Ellen Page, was in the hit movie back in 2007 called Juno. That was pretty much the movie that kind of, you know, started her career for the most part. And she's talking with Esquire, and she's talking about the fact that she was forced to wear a dress during that movie. Now, she talks about this a little bit here. I'll get into it. It says, when Juno was at the height of its popularity during award season, I was closeted, dressed in heels, the whole look. I wasn't okay. I didn't know how to talk to anyone about that. He said, I think there was times where people actively were like, no, you need to wear a dress in very, very pivotal moments. So she goes on to talk about, the premiere of the movie that she did. She said, I wanted to wear a suit, but Fox Searchlight was basically like, no, you need to wear a dress. And they took me in a big rush to one of those fancy storms on Bloor S Street. And they had me wear a dress, and that was that. And then all the Juno press, all the photo shoots, Michael Cera was wearing slacks and sneakers. I look back at the photo and I'm like, and she puts ... It's basically saying, so this is a photo of the premiere that she was talking about here. And that's essentially what, they made her wear. So it seems like kind of the last minute thing. So down here, it gets to, it sounds strange to people. And I get that people don't understand. Oh, fuck you. You're famous. You have money. You have to wear a dress. Boo hoo. I do not understand that reaction. That is mixed with, I wish people would understand that shit literally almost killed me. He said that was extremely fucked up. I shouldn't have to treat it like it's just a thing that happened. This is a somewhat normal thing. It's like, no, regardless of me being trans, which is obviously years after the fact, that I've had people apologize about things like, oh, I didn't know at the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm trans or cis. Lots of cis women dress how I dress. That has nothing to do with it. And she basically just goes on to explain. And by the way, this is the cover of what she looks like now on Esquire. I don't know if I can. I'm not sure if I can click this to show. Oh, yeah, you can. So these are just a couple of the pictures here. I'm just warning some of you guys.
Justin Bieber.
I'm just warning you guys now. I have not screened all these photos, so if you see something bad, we'll.
Nah, I'm seeing a lot of things bad, but I mean, hey.
Mm-hmm. And then there's her final picture on there. So essentially what she's saying in this story is that, that when she was in the premiere, basically the biggest movie of her career up to that point, that the studio forced her to wear a dress. Now, of course, she tries to conflate this with, her being, trans and her being confused at the time. And they try to force her to do something that she didn't want to do. Essentially, the way that I took this story was that, well, wait a second. Basically, you were on a Hollywood red carpet for a premiere of a major movie, and they wanted you to look nice. Like, that's not really like the biggest hill to die on, like in the world. Because I'm assuming that if any of us were starring in a major film or we were on a Hollywood premiere, that the studio would at least want us to be somewhat presentable in the eyes of the public, right?
Exactly.
But she apparently took that years after the fact. Like I said, this happened in 2007. So this was, I don't know how many years ago now, what, 15, maybe about 15 years ago when this happened. So, but she took that as, well, she was already in the closet then, and they made her feel even worse. So do you think that Elliot, because I don't want to dead name her, but do you think that Elliot has a legitimate gripe here, or you think that she's being just a little too sensitive about her, I guess you could say, reality, if you want to call it that? Or Cassie. Oh, you're muted.
My bad. I think it's no secret that clearly I dress a little bit different than a usual female does. But I mean, I've went through the things that she's been through, and I hated it too. But like, I didn't want to die or felt like I was going to die because of it. Like I said, when I was 4 years old, my parents used to go to church on Sundays, and I would have to wear a dress, and I absolutely hated it. But even as a 4-year-old, I didn't come to the conclusion that doing it was gonna kill me. I mean,
that's the thing. Is the poor choice of words as well?
Oh yeah, it's a terrible choice of words. It's like everything is the end of the world. And it's like, I've been through this kind of shit, and like, for me, I don't identify as trans, or I'm not even a part of the LGBT community, but I knew at the age of like 4 that I didn't want to wear dresses. I didn't like pink. And it's just, I just went with what I liked. And thankfully my parents like pretty much let me do what I want to do, because I wasn't influenced by anyone other than myself. But when it comes to how she acts, I mean, to me, it's like this whole Elliot Page thing, and a lot of things when it comes to like transitioning and even like doing drag and stuff. It's like these people hate themselves so much that they don't want to be themselves. They can't accept themselves, but yet then they want us to accept them. And it's just like, bro, I went through the whole moment where I realized that there's no way I can ever be super feminine when I was 14, and I just got over it, and then I just said, fuck this, I'm going to do what I want to do, because I can't try to conform to society norms, because it's just not who I am. And I think it's, to some extent, at her age, since she is older than me, it's pathetic that she has yet to come to that reality in any meaningful way. It's just she wants to run away from herself. That's how I see it personally.
TW, what do you think about your former crush and her personal issues with wearing a dress?
Yeah, honestly, I think I can't pretend to know what she's going through. But yeah, it sounds super over exaggerated and all of that. But yeah, honestly, it's just like, like Josh was saying, a wrong choice of words and anything like that. It's kind of really crazy to be complaining about that after the fact, since you're so much more free to do what you want now. It just seems like it's just like, if you want to leave that part of your past behind, cool, but I don't know. I just don't see the point in trying to bash it all these years later. It just seems nuts.
And Josh, what do you think?
Actually, exactly the same. It's just like the one thing that, why is she bringing that up now? You know, and why is she making such a big deal out of it as well? It's like, I don't know. It's like, who cares about this, honestly? And you know, the people that actually care, you see, again, it's a demographic they're just trying to pander to. It's again, it's kind of like
no. Keep in mind. I was going to say real quick, keep in mind, this is the same woman who a few years ago, before she transitioned, completely fell for the whole Jussie Smollett hoax. Because when Jussie Smollett told that story about how he got jumped by two racist white people in Chicago at 2 a.m. during the Arctic blast at a subway. And then she went on, what was it, like, I think a Colbert show, and went on like a whole like emotional rant, like condemning the whole thing and whatnot. So clearly, when it comes to Elliot Page, she doesn't exactly have the best judgment when it comes to, like, you know, character or reality and things of that nature. So,
I mean, look at her pictures, or his pictures. Look at how thirsty this individual is for attention. Super thirsty for it, like dying for it. So they'll bring up anything and everything in order to get attention drawn to them. Because, I mean, until Elliot Page transitioned, I mean, was anybody really talking about this individual? Not at all. The last thing I remember was they were in X-Men Days of Future Past, and that was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, really, that was kind of like the last like big thing that she did. Now, apparently, she's on like some Netflix show, was like Umbrella Academy or something like that. I think that's the name of the show. It's been on like a few years, but obviously, since she went trans, they had to like turn the character trans as well, because there's pretty much no other way they can salvage that character outside, you know, just getting rid of her altogether, which they didn't want to do for the obvious reasons, because, you know, it's bad PR. But I was just looking at this whole situation. Like, I just remember reading this, and it's like, you're complaining about wearing a dress during like a Hollywood premiere. Like, you do understand, like, put the trans stuff aside, that just complaining about that alone is like very, very odd. That really doesn't have much merit to it. Like, it's not like it's like, oh my God, they forced me to wear a dress on, like, you know, it's something trivial. It's like, no, it's a Hollywood premiere for a movie. It's like, it's kind of implied that most people like dress nice. Now, she tried to throw Michael Cera under the bus by saying, well, he was only wearing like, you know, slacks and like a shirt or whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, what were you planning on wearing? Because I bet she wanted to wear like a suit or whatnot. So I guess maybe internally the studio was like, okay, well, we can't have Michael Cera wearing just regular clothes and Ellen Page wearing a suit and expect people to like take this movie seriously when we actually like need this to be a bigger deal than it is. So to me, it's like she's trying to conflate the fact that she was forced to wear a dress on a movie premiere with an overall like victimhood of, oh, well, this is what I had to suffer through before I was trans. It's like, that's really not the hill to die on. I'm pretty sure there's more things that happen in your life that you can complain about, but this one's kind of just a weird one that's like take to like a grand stage. You know what I mean?
She could have just said no. At what 15 years of age, no one was telling me what to do but my parents.
Yeah. And matter of fact, how old is she? Okay, let me check that real quick, because I'm trying to think. 15 years ago, how old would she have been? Okay, so 15 years ago, she would have been 20 years old. So it's like, okay, good, come on.
No one was definitely telling me what to do at 20, bro. Nobody.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, it's like
it's just weak-mindedness.
So I started off that series with a little bit of a softball because this one's a little more harder than the stomach because a few weeks back I did a story about the latest Discovery Plus, and this pains me because I actually like Discovery Plus. But Discovery Plus put out a new miniseries about underage drag kids called Generation Drag, where they were going to profile drag kids preparing for a drag show that is exclusively for minors. So the series dropped a couple of days ago, and I finally watched at least the first 4 episodes or skimmed through it. And to me, I think it exposed a much bigger problem that you've noticed. Mm-hmm. So the article here says Discovery Plus Generation Drag exposes how drag queens are being used to groom damaged children. So if you watch the show, I'm not recommending anyone watch the show unless you just want to be angry and upset. So essentially what the show is that you have a bunch of people, a bunch of kids. I mean, these are children. I mean, some of them are like as young as like 10 years old. So these aren't even what you would call teenagers. These are basically kids. And they're talking about, their drag personas, blah, 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 like how they got into drag and whatnot. And the story is pretty much the same with a lot of these kids. First of all, most of them, if not all of them, are all very financially well off. They all have, mother and father. They all live in a nice home and whatever the case may be. And they talk about how, they weren't exactly popular at school. They didn't exactly fit in at school. There's obviously some issues there, either at the school or at the home, that they didn't really play up as much because they just wanted to tie it into their identity. Yeah. So essentially what happened is that they talked about, well, hey, I didn't know how to express myself until I saw RuPaul's Drag Race. And that show was mentioned quite a few times in the course of this special about how these young kids, they watched RuPaul's Drag Race and they was like, wow, I really want to get into the world of drag. So what they did is that they started, dressing up as, it's hard to even describe it because when you look at the actual world of drag, it's basically guys who consider themselves to be guys who dress up as very exaggerated, over-the-top versions of women, but adult women, right? So now, like, these kids are basically doing the same thing that the adult guys are doing. So there's some of the pictures of the show. And believe it or not, like I tried to get some other screenshots because there were some screenshots even worse than the ones that are in this article. But surprise, surprise, I wasn't able to get those directly from Discovery Plus.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. But essentially they're talking about how, they were watching, drag queens and they got inspired by watching drag queens become drag queens themselves. Even though most of these kids, like 2 of the kids are 10 years old. There's a couple of them that are teenagers. I think one's like 15, one's like 16 or whatnot. But most of them are very, very young. Like they wouldn't even technically be like middle schoolers. At this point, they already are quote unquote famous drag queens. Like one talked about how they went to a pride parade and didn't know what drag queens were, and they did their quote unquote research. I'll get to that in a second too. But so they become drag queens. The parents is like, well, now we have to deal with the fact that either my kid is trans, my kid is gay, or my kid is a drag queen. And then they said that, well, we had to do our own quote unquote research. And when they say research, what they mean is that they went on the internet and read articles, which they decided not to name or cite. So it literally could have been anyone's article. It could have been like a Vox article or like a HuffPo article or something like that. You would never would have known because they didn't explain it for the obvious reasons. And then they talked about how they read these articles to better understand the LGBTQ community and about using pronouns and about, gender fluidity and about the sexual identity and things of that nature. So I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, all of these kids are basically telling the same story. And I parlay that with the Twitter account Libs of TikTok. So some of you guys probably know Libs of TikTok online got a lot of heat, especially in the last few weeks, because Libs of TikTok has been exposing American public schools for having essentially LGBTQ educators, teachers, principals, whatnot, exposing children to things like drag queen events, The LGBTQ teachers are like doing like rainbows and pronouns in the classrooms and assigning them homework that is more based on the LGBTQ community than any actual learning whatsoever. So I attach a few articles here. Like obviously this was a drag show in Illinois. There's another one in Arizona. I think the one here was attached from Indiana, where you just see the same thing over and over again. And one thing that you're noticing is that you have all of these drag queens that are just showing up out of nowhere at these elementary schools, at these high schools, these middle schools and whatnot, and they're all essentially like around children, trying to inspire children. So he's like, what's going on? Well, if you believe what these kids on these shows are saying, is that they're saying that, yeah, I basically became a member of the LGBTQ, or I became more acquainted with that community after I got exposed to drag in the world of drag. So when we talk about things like obviously the Florida bill that companies like Disney have been arguing about and fighting Governor Ron DeSantis about, they don't want kids in the state of Florida to be groomed by these teachers. And obviously Disney threw a big stink about that. They went all out to defending the LGBTQ teachers and whatnot. They went all out and fighting DeSantis. They ended up losing their special status in Reedy Creek because of this. A whole multitude of things. Parents have pretty much walked away from them. So they left a black eye with them specifically. But when you start putting it all together, the point here that I'm trying to make is that you notice that, okay, there's been a massive increase of, events like Drag Team Story Hour, or drag queens that are just showing up to the schools. And most of the time, the parents are not even told that these events are going on. So the parents are finding out through accounts like Libs of TikTok and other news outlets that, oh, well, all these things are happening at my kid's school with my kids, and I didn't know about that. And if they had told me beforehand, I wouldn't have approved them going there in the first place. So you start to see the agenda that's going on, and shows like this kind of infirm what that agenda is. So, like I said, the show is very disturbing at some points because you have, like I said, 10-year-old kid, a 12-year-old kid that's like dressed in like knee-high socks and like a skirt and like a very, very like short, like low crop shirt. Like this is something that you wouldn't even let your 12-year-old daughter wear, let alone your 12-year-old son. And it's supposed to be normalized because, well, hey, they're drag kids. So all of this is completely okay. Don't question it whatsoever, or you're a bigot. And then the other aspect of this, which I found very disturbing, is that they have these things called drag moms, which is older drag queens who are usually in their 40s and 50s, who I guess are considered mentors for these children who are, like I said, grade school age. And they basically help them with their, identity, their persona, their dance and whatnot. And then you notice watching this, it's like, wow, like these kids actually don't have any friends whatsoever their own age. Like they don't have like any friends within their neighborhood or in their schools to hang around. So they're just hanging around these 40 to 50-year-old men in drag because they're essentially the only friends that these kids have, which makes this story even more depressing. So there's a lot of, like I said, people saw the trailer to this. I won't really play the trailer because I don't know what the copyright deals are, but people saw the trailer to this. They were pretty much disturbed by what they saw in the trailer. All I can tell you is that the show is pretty much exactly what you expect. And like I said, it's not only just angering, but it's more depressing because you know that these kids deep down inside are damaged. Like they've been through some kind of clear-cut emotional abuse. Like one of the girls who's trans is a very, very soft-spoken person. You can tell that this person has been through a tremendous amount of emotional damage. Now, obviously, you can't refer if there's any sexual abuse going on anywhere in the story, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case too. It's just a very, very, just a kind of a sad, kind of depressing type of show that's being actively promoted by executive producer Tyra Banks and Discovery Plus. So I'm going to let you guys get a little bit in about how you guys feel about this. I'll start with you, Cassie. I mean, drag kids. Like, are we really doing this now? Is this where we gotten?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the whole Desmond is amazing individual.
Oh yeah,
it was like a young kid, and the one story came out that was crazy to me was like, and this was a couple of years ago, where this child was dancing at a bar in front of a bunch of men, and men were throwing dollar bills at this little kid. And I'm just like, bro, this is child abuse. Like, his parents should have been dragged out in handcuffs. I want to say something even worse, but I'm not, in regards to their parents. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's like, what do you think attracts children to this whole drag stuff? It's how colorful it is. And when it comes to LGBT, I mean, the color is the flag of representation is rainbow. So like, naturally, kids are going to look at something like this and they're going to say, oh, this is colorful. So that's like their first click, because children are very impressionable by simple things. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, honestly, I think it's child abuse. I think that their parents should be dragged out in handcuffs. We live in a society now where there are a lot of people in power that want to destroy any chance of you having success, being a regular person. And the fastest way to do that is by getting to your youth. You start these kids off on the wrong path, they're going to be wrong more than likely for the rest of their life. And they totally don't mind it. And it's sad that people don't take it more seriously, because it's only getting worse. I mean, they're putting it on TV shows now. Before, it was just the one kid we know of, Desmond is amazing. And now look, it's many kids going down the same road, dealing with the same fucking weird people that, to me, any grown man around a kid that's not their father, I'm sorry, I'm watching him with two eyes, because this is something wrong. There's, when the people in my family, I remember my uncle told me this. He's like, whenever I'm around my nieces, whatever, I say hello, but I mostly keep away, because that's what he does, knowing that he's a man, because he never wants any potential issue with anything. I remember my mother used to say that she would follow my grandfather around all the time, and when he'd be around his friends, he'd tell her, and this is when my mother was like 4 years old, go inside with your mother, because it's a strange thing. Men have to be aware of how they present themselves among children. And as a man, you have to protect your children, because there are people that have nefarious thoughts when it comes to children. And it's sad that we have to think this way. Our society clearly has a serious issue, and a lot of it is being perpetuated. And to me, introducing kids to sex at a young age is no doubt mentally damaging. There's nothing that you can say to convince me otherwise. And this whole, like I was saying before, when it comes to drag and being trans, it's you running away from yourself. That's the way I see it, because you want to be someone else. And I think an important aspect of everyone's life is growing up and learning to accept yourself for all your faults and living with that. And these kids are definitely, they're definitely in for it when it comes to just growing up, because they're being taught all this stuff that's just, I feel sorry for our youth. Not even their parents are looking out for their best interest.
Yeah, and it's sad. Quick little shout out to John, who's here in the chat with us, and obviously we're talking about one of his favorite subjects was his drag kids, and I know he's made a couple of videos ranting about this as well. I don't think he's actually watched some of the episodes of the series like I have, unfortunately. TW, what is your thoughts on this whole thing about essentially? Like I said, from what I saw, I feel like we're sexualizing these kids. And then we're putting them around very, very questionable people. And I want to make a point after you've done made yours. So what do you think about this whole deal?
Man, I don't have too much to say, but yeah, this is just downright perverse. There's no other way around it. It's fucking weird. The only thing that kids should be concerned with is having fun. Let them have fun. They don't need to make these kind of decisions, rather they're gay, straight, trans, or whatever the fuck, until maybe they're like honestly out of high school. Because even in high school, you don't know. Maybe when you get into college or something like that. it's.
I mean, I just wanted to bring this up real quick, and I'm thinking to myself, these kids are like 10 and 12 years old. We're talking about like what, 5th grade at the youngest. It's like these kids don't even like know like basic math, basic reading, basic science.
Right?
They don't even know about like world history, U.S. history. Like there's very basic things when it comes to stuff that you learned in grade school. These kids have absolutely no idea about whatsoever. And they're learning essentially how to put on a makeup and to dress up like an adult woman and dance in front of very suspect men on stage. And like I said, so the event, I think I didn't mention this one as well. There's an event that all these kids go to. It's called Dragutante, which is the name of the show. And it's a drag show in Denver that is specifically for minors. So I think it's like between the ages of like 8 and 18. And people are bringing their kids to this event so they can perform at it was essentially a drag show for kids, for children. And this event, I was like, there's no red flags anywhere with any of these people whatsoever. None of the organizers, none of the parents are obviously saying, I don't think that this is a good idea. Like there was one kid who's like an Hispanic kid, and I guess like his grandparents are like more conservative than his parents are, obviously, and like his grandparents are obviously like not approving of this like whatsoever. Like the parents are trying to give like, oh no, you should go see him perform at this event. And the grandparents are like, no, we're not going to this. It's like we don't support this at all, right? But of course, that's supposed to be presented as the conflict. Like somehow the grandparents are the ones that are fucked up in the head. But it's like you're asking me to go to a 10-year-old's drag show and call it like, are you insane right now? Like you lucky I even still talk to you, let alone endorse like, the stuff that you guys are like putting up there. It's like it just feels like there's no self-awareness anywhere with any of these people.
Yeah. There's another problem as well. Is that the fact that they're trying to normalize all of these behaviors, and it's like the saying that start them while they're young. It's kind of like they took that thing a little bit too serious.
Oh yeah,
and that's a problem as well, because again, like I said, they're trying to normalize this thing, but at the same time, if you're against it, you're a bigot, and they start calling you maybe a Republican or whatever, right? So it's So and it's so weird though. And you mentioned though 8 to 18 years old, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing that Ron DeSantis signed in Florida. The parentals in I can't remember the name of the law, right? But they don't say gay, which again they try to weaponize, calling it a different thing, so that people went like, oh, so I guess we're not allowed to say this word anymore or whatever. So we're just going to cause an outrage, when in reality it's just grooming children.
That's all it is.
No, I think it was actually kindergarten through 3rd grade. And that is just insane. Again, normalizing and calling you a bigot and all those names just because you don't agree with something that is, like TW said, perverse.
Yes.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a couple of kids on the show that are quote unquote trans. Like one is like, one's like a 15-year-old like boy who transitioned into a girl. And it's like, I just looked at that kid and it's like, that person was physically abused. Like you can just tell by looking for someone that just by like the way they're acting, their mannerism, like there's definitely abuse in their life that obviously the show's not going to talk about, right? Because they're trying to normalize this whole thing. So they don't want to talk about any possible trauma that some of these kids may have faced that led them to this community whatsoever. And then there's like another kid on there who went from female to male about the same age as the other kid. And you can tell psychologically, like you can look at these kids just by looking at them and the way that they act and be like, something's not right here. And you're sitting here on the show produced by Discovery Plus or TLC or whatever channel is producing this shit. And you're trying to convince me or gaslight me into thinking that, oh no, these kids are totally fine. Everything that you're seeing here is totally normal. It's like, I would love like a body language a person to like watch this show and look at these kids because there's no way in hell you could tell me that all of these kids are completely okay in the head and they have no emotional issues whatsoever. They're just looking to express themselves, and drag just gives them the opportunity to express themselves. That's all we're doing here. That we're expressing ourselves. It's like no, there's something far more sinister going on here. And like I said, you're seeing this in schools. Like, why is it now all of a sudden that all of these drag queens are just doing all these events at public schools now? Like, why does it seem like every time, like I said, Libs of TikTok has a new video out every other day about, in California or in Illinois, so these drag queens showed up and they had an event and the parents didn't know about it, obviously. But I mean, here's these 10-year-olds and 14-year-olds dancing on stage with the drag queens. Like, isn't this fun? It's like, no, like this stuff isn't fun. It isn't cool. And to be honest with you, a lot of parents do not like this, and they keep saying, "Leave my kids alone." And you said, you guys, I've said this before. It's like one of these days something bad's going to happen, and we're in a world right now where bad things are happening every day, and you keep messing with other people's kids. Someone's going to snap, and it's not going to be pretty. And I'll say this: like the whole thing with like Pride Month and the LGBTQ community, it's like, people have been much more patient with you than probably a lot of people probably should be, in all honesty. But they've been extremely patient up to this point. Like, you guys talk about how everyone's against you, how you guys are victims. It's like, you really haven't seen true backlash from people. But if you start messing with people's kids, and you keep insisting on messing with people's kids, especially behind their back, you're going to see a backlash. You thought you guys were being hated before. Like, you're going to turn this into something where people are really going to just like drop the hammer on you and say enough is enough of this stuff. And like I said, maybe, you guys like to complain about China and like, Saudi Arabia and Russia about their laws when it comes to the LGBT community. Don't let it get to a point where people start looking at countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and start thinking, well, maybe we should start adopting things that they're doing, because apparently they're the only ones that are doing it right. And you're going to start people like, it's a fallacy that people say like all the time. Not really a fallacy, but it's an argument that people make all the time. It's like, well, how did the Nazis become a thing? Like, how did we allow society to get to a point where the Nazis took over and did the things that they did? It's like, well, it wasn't like one day somebody just stood up and say, hey, you know what? Let's just start targeting Jewish people and start killing them all, right? Because obviously if you say that from day one, there's going to be like, you're insane. You're a crazy person. We're never going to do that. What's wrong with you? But you start pushing people to a point where they don't want to be pushed. All of a sudden, they're going to hear that argument over and over again. And it's going to get to a point where that argument no longer becomes as crazy to them as it once did before. Like I said, this whole thing with this all started with, hey, just let us get married. This whole thing started with gay marriage. And most people, for the most part, it's like, okay, you know what? You guys want to get married? Fine. We let you guys get married. No one cares anymore. No one cares if you're gay. If you want to come out, come out. So many people have done it that has no impact anymore. But now they're trying to push that so far to what people are going to eventually start drawing the line to. And you notice this with like the pride flags now. Like, and we talked about this on the Black Pill stream earlier this week. It started off with the rainbow flag, right? And that was like the whole LGBTQ flag. But now they're like adding like all of these like different stripes and different colors. Like now it's like the trans rights and Black Lives Matter. And now we added the Ukraine colors to the flag. And now we're adding all these other things to it. It's like, it's getting to a point where if you actually look at the flag itself, they're starting to completely paint over the rainbow. Like the rainbow's not going to exist anymore in a few months because they keep adding stuff to it. And that's pretty much like the whole idea of the Trojan horse. It started as one thing, but now it's become all these other things that we don't approve of. So what are we going to do? Are we just going to keep going down this road, or is somebody finally going to stand up and say, no, enough? And when it does get to that point, you're not going to like people's reaction to this. So any other final thoughts about this story before we move on to something not quite as depressing?
No, honestly, no. Like I said, it is just, it's just.
You're muted, Cass.
Again, I suck.
It's a new mic. You got to get
used to it. I'm not used to it. But I was saying that if I was a kid now and they were doing this kind of stuff at like my school, my dad would be in prison. I know for a fact my dad would be in prison. It's sad to have to say that. I'm glad that I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions. But it's like, I don't know how this goes on. I read this article and they were saying that one of these school events was actually encouraging children to bring like dollar bills to give to these drag queens. And it's like, you got to be a bitch ass fucking loser to take tips from little kids in the first place. But that's just disgusting. It's disgusting. I think the whole act of throwing a dollar bill at people in general is degrading in general.
Right, it's very demeaning. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the fact that you're putting that sentiment on a kid that doesn't know any better is that's disgusting. It's like disrespectful and disgusting. Even if it's to one of these drag queens that I don't agree with, but just the concept of introducing something so disrespectful to a child, it's bad. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, you can't change my mind about that at all, and especially in these schools too. Like, dude, why am I bringing my kid to school if this is the shit that they're gonna be seeing? Teach my kid math, fuckers. Otherwise, why am I bringing them to school for?
And not Common Core math.
Yeah, like I said, and I'm one of the people who grew up in a generation where when I was in elementary school, I've personally seen parents roll up to the school and yell and curse out teachers for far less than what's going on in modern schools today. And it feels like that, modern parents, well, I don't know if it's just like a convenience thing or they just don't want to cause a scene, but it seems like these modern parents today are letting the schools and these teachers get away with a lot more with their kids than parents 30 years ago did. Because I personally seen, like, as a kid, parents come up to the schools and yell at teachers because the parents felt like the teachers addressed their kids in a manner that they didn't find satisfactory. And I've seen this going on with my own two eyes. And I'm just looking at the stuff that's going on, especially with these schools that are doing this without the parents' knowledge. It's like, let me find out that my kid was at one of these events that you hosted and sponsored and didn't tell me about. I'm going to be the first person down there at that school, and I'm going to tell you straight up. I'll give you one warning. If you mess with my kids again, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to bust your ass. Plain and simple. I don't care if you get mad. I don't care if you call the cops. Call the cops, because I'll tell them the same thing. You mess with my kids one more time, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to bust your ass, and I might do it in front of these kids. So it's like I said, I don't understand how a lot of these parents are just letting these schools and these teachers just have their way. Especially, you've seen like the Libs of TikTok video about how cocky these teachers are about, I'm gonna show this to the students and the parents, and they're gonna do anything about it. Let me find out that one of my teachers or one of my kids' teachers are posting a video like that. I'm gonna be there the next day. I'm gonna take time off of work. I don't care what job I have. I'm gonna take time off of work. I'm gonna roll down to the school and I'm gonna talk to you face to face. And like I said, I'll give you one warning, and then that will be it. If anything else that happens past there that I don't like, there's going to be a problem. And the people, like I said, when it comes to your own kids, if you don't draw the line there, where do you draw the line? Or do you just let the whole thing go past you? So, and like I said, and you're talking to someone who doesn't even have kids. But if I did have kids, there would be issues with stuff like this.
Yeah, I don't want kids at all, because it's like you can't even trust Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon to just show them cartoons that aren't blatantly influential. I'd be paranoid all day, every day. I would nag my kid to know what they're watching and what's involved so much that they would hate me. And that's why I have no interest in having kids. One of the many reasons, but I would just be continuously paranoid. Honestly, homeschool your kids. If you care about your kids, homeschool your kids. And if you can't, find a way. Because if you can't do it for them, who are you going to do anything for?
Exactly. I mean, if you're not going to draw the line for your own kids, then who are you going to draw the line for, right? Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't know how far this is going to go. I do know that, parents are upset about this and they are starting to fight back. But in my mind, not enough of them are drawing a line with a lot of stuff that's going on. Like I said, it's not even just like the public schools. You see like these corporations, like Disney is obviously doing a lot of stuff with their streaming app about doing like drag queens with children now. There was the whole video about that we covered earlier this week that I didn't show. There was Nickelodeon is obviously doing a whole thing with like Pride Month where they're putting like drag queens and like Blue's Clues and SpongeBob SquarePants. You're like why? Like, what is the purpose of this? Like, you're talking about a show that's catered to like 4-year-olds. Like, what concept of the drag queens is a 4-year-old gonna understand? Unless you're trying to influence them one way or another. But of course, when you call them out on it, they say, "Oh, well, we're not trying to groom your kids. We're not trying to influence your kid." It's like, Okay, it seems like the opposite of what you're saying is true. So, anyone else has any final thoughts before we bring this one home?
No, I'm all good.
All right, then. Well, that was a little bit of a downer topic. I knew it was going to be a downer topic. So let's go ahead and brighten up everyone's stories and talk about the fact that Amber Heard owes Johnny Depp millions and millions of dollars because Johnny Depp won his defamation lawsuit earlier this week. Well, he won initially $15 million, but then Amber Heard got a partial claim. So there's about $13 million that's set to go to Johnny Depp. I think after creditors and everything of that goes, it's probably somewhere about $8 million. So let's talk about a little bit about this story. I think everyone pretty much knows because it's been covered to death by so many people about what happened. Amber Heard was one of the pillars, the original pillars of the Me Too movement. She wasn't exactly the originator, but she was like one of the strongest cases that they used to move with that whole movement, especially in Hollywood. So she came out and said that, Johnny Depp abused her, alleged some very, very heinous things against Johnny Depp. Because of that, pretty much everyone in the media, especially progressives, smeared Johnny Depp as an abuser, as a psycho. He ended up losing some of his major roles in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a lot of other studios that essentially decided that they weren't going to work with Johnny Depp anymore because they didn't want to deal with the bad press of dealing with him and what was his name was attached to. So he decided that he was going to press a defamation suit against Amber Heard for the lies that she posted in a 2018 op-ed where she claimed that she was a victim of Johnny Depp's domestic abuse. Now, the way that she tried to save face about this whole thing is that initially she didn't name Depp, but everything that she said in the context of her story made it very, very clear that it was Johnny Depp, right? So he ended up suing her for $50 million. Heard decided she's going to countersue for $100 million. And then obviously the trial that we all saw with our own two eyes went from April to June. We all saw all the witnesses that came in and made statements. Well, there was obviously some things that got exposed between some very personal things that got exposed about Johnny Depp and a bed that happened that Amber Heard is probably not very proud of. We heard things about, her cutting off his finger, him initially trying to cover it up. There was a lot of things going in back and forth, but obviously the jury listened to all the evidence and they found that Amber Heard acted in malice on multiple counts, saying that that very much she lied with the intent to destroy his career, things of that nature. The jury sided with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp won. He's being old man. Now apparently he wasn't at the trial when the verdict came in. Amber Heard was there, so we saw her reaction to everything, and it was pretty much what you expected of someone who lost a major case and whose entire, I guess, public persona got destroyed in this, which I guess you could say is poetic justice because she tried to destroy Johnny Depp's persona in the act of all this. So she owes Johnny Depp lots and lots of money. So now the story is coming out that Amber Heard is broke due to mounting legal fees, the penalty that she received, and her lavish spending lifestyle. Now she says that the story here from the New York Post says that Amber Heard can't pay $14.4 million that she owes Johnny Depp, her lawyer revealed on Thursday. As sources toward the New York Post. No, absolutely not. Attorney Elaine Benioff, whatever her name is. I don't know why people have that many vowels in their name, but whatever. So essentially, she says that the 36-year-old is now hurting for cash now that she has to come up with a large lump sum from Johnny Depp. Now, obviously, she's an actress, but there's rumors now that she's probably going to get cut out entirely from the Aquaman 2 role that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon. And now
even that the role has been reduced like to 5 minutes or so like that. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a rumor. I'm not sure how true it is.
Yeah, they say that her rule's been reduced. I'm pretty sure they might even go as far as to cut her out entirely now. And obviously, her name is now being associated with a toxic property, the same way she tried to do Johnny Depp. So it's not like she's going to get too many more acting roles, even though I joked earlier this week, this would be hilarious to see her having to go through a quote-unquote Nicolas Cage era of her career, where she's basically has to do any movie she possibly can in order to pay off her debtors. But the little problem is that people actually like Nicolas Cage, unlike Amber Heard. So the attorney's basically saying here that she lives a very rich, lavish lifestyle, which I'm pretty sure she got accustomed to when she was dating Johnny Depp, and that she doesn't exactly have the money to pay off what the courts have ordered her to pay. So it's going to be a very interesting situation to see how this one turns out over the next a few weeks to few months. So before I go any deeper into this story, I want to get everyone's thoughts about Amber Heard getting BTFO'd in court. And I want to start with Josh on this one.
I was actually not really familiar with the case until I joined Bounding. I didn't know much of it, right? And then I just started reading. I actually got to write one article, and if Spencer is still listening, made Fedora tip, because honestly, I just couldn't. It took me like 5 hours to write that article because there was so much information, especially because there was like the one thing that nobody's mentioning on our side, basically, right? So the left, the ones that are supporting Amber Heard go like, well, but she actually did win the case in London, or I don't remember if it was in London or not, but it's in England, right?
I think it was in the UK, yeah,
in England, because it's a defamation. But this is not Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. That was Johnny Depp versus the Guardian, I think, one of the. Yeah, it was actually one of the publications, and basically the reason why he lost. He lost in England. I was just going to call it England because I can't remember what it was. It's because the evidence, basically, they didn't matter if there was any evidence to it, right? It was the fact that she had written the thing, and the paper basically believed what she had written, and because there was no real evidence to it, it was like, you can't really sue the publication because. Whatever, right? So they believe, and right. So there was no. I don't really understand the whole thing 100%, but that was like the one thing, and they bringing that up every time, and it's just kind of go like, well, she's gonna win here in the U.S. Well, they're in the U.S. I don't live in the U.S. I've never been to the U.S.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the same thing. I couldn't really understand like how the UK court system works too. So I'm pretty sure it's kind of confusing trying to figure out like the U.S. court system as well. So it's a little bit disconnect as far as that goes.
And that was like the one thing. So when he won, because there was like damning evidence basically, and because she kept contradicting her own statements, stolen Butler, right? How dare you? How dare you? Right, Fedora tip again. Really top quality articles by Spencer Bakuli. I'm just gonna, shout out to this Spencer.
Is that his last name? Bakuli? Oh, that's weird.
Bakuli, yeah. Right. I didn't. But there you go. That just I don't know what else I have to say. Right. So great for instead of a Britbong. What are you saying, right? Saying you're a USCN. I don't know what he's saying, and I can't reply because he's on Twitch. I'm not on Twitch, so I can't really.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought I don't see the
messages on YouTube. But right. So great for Johnny Depp. I mean, that's the thing though. At the end of the day, if we're talking about strictly politics, he's a progressive and she's a progressive as well, and it's like, sure, this is a case that is important and it matters because again, believable women basically just fell apart.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like the entire Me Too movement pretty much just got completely destroyed in this trial because the whole narrative was, believe all women, no matter what the evidence says, just believe all women. If you don't believe them, and then obviously we'll get to the cope a little bit later on about how some of these people were saying, well, the real victim here is domestic abuse victims. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever you guys say. Cassie, I know you've been chopping at the bit for a little bit on this one, so I'm gonna let you go in on the whole Amber Heard situation.
Yeah, it's nice to see bad people suffer just a little bit. I mean, admittedly, I guess I'm not like, I'll be the first to say I'm not the most self-righteous person, but I mean, I don't really give a shit about our financial problem. The reality is someone's probably going to bail her out, or she's going to, how Hollywood is. They like to act like they're so good, but some of those dudes in the right positions of power are willing to make some sort of deals. So, I don't think anyone should necessarily get their hopes up that she's going to suffer a bit like she made Johnny Depp suffer. But it's at least good to see that the person that didn't really, wasn't the liar, actually like was redeemed. And I'm not really a Depp fan. I didn't really care for him because he kind of did shit on America. Meanwhile, he made his fame here and he ran off to like Paris or something. So I don't really care for Johnny Depp necessarily, but at the end of the day, what's right is right. He didn't do all the crazy shit that she was accusing him of. Clearly, he was going through some things, and it seemed like as his wife at the time, she really did absolutely nothing but make it worse in every given situation. And given how outright abusive she was, I mean, once you get caught, like once you literally talking about severed fingers, I'm sorry, yo. I mean, like I've seen some domestic shit in my time, but I never seen anything like that. That's too much. But with Amber, man, like she needs to humble herself, and that whole tweet that she put out was a complete fucking joke. Like, the only people you hurt are true victims that actually have suffered from domestic abuse. And a victim actually managed to prove that they are a victim in this given situation. And hopefully Johnny could take that and run with it, because I mean the dude is talented, and now, you know, hopefully studios will be willing to cast him, because I don't think he deserved to go down that way.
Yeah, I think that the big thing here was to the kid's reputation, because obviously, like I said, Johnny has said some things that I'm not particularly a big fan of either. So I don't think it was much as like, you know, us rooting for Johnny Depp just as a person. A lot of people looked at this as like, okay, well, obviously there's been a lot of instances over the last few years of women making false claims against men that either cost them jail time or cost them their reputation. And the fact that, you know, Johnny Depp fought this or through the legal system and won via the legal system is a message to a lot of people, is that they're not just going to sit there and tolerate complete BS, you know, allegations with no consequences whatsoever. So yeah, if you do go out there and make false application that defames somebody's character and destroys somebody's reputation, there should be consequences to that. And as you can see in the picture that I have up on here now, Amber Heard's current net worth, giving the results of the trial, is negative $6 million. So needless to say, she's a little bit worse off now than all of us combined. So at least you could look at that as a positive light. TW, what do you think about this whole thing with Johnny Depp?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I couldn't have given two shits about this much, because everybody was like, oh man, this Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, they were making a big deal out of it. The only positive I see out of it is this is a victory for anyone who's ever been, wrongfully accused of some shit. That's how I see it as. But I mean, Johnny Depp, again, I hope he's able to bounce. I'm sure he's going to bounce back from this and be just fine. As for Amber Heard, I mean, hey, sucks to suck. GG. Unlucky as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I know Spencer's really looking forward to that new Pirates of the Caribbean with Margot Robbie, because he was a big fan of that whole series, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a big box office when that film comes out. When Disney says, "Oh, even though Johnny Depp was proven right in court, we're still not going to give him his job back," that's going to go over very well with the masses. But I guess last topic here with the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation is kind of sort of the media's reaction to this, because obviously there's been a lot of thoughts from like a lot of people regarding how this whole thing played out. And I feel like some people were initially, I guess you could say concerned with the verdicts, that they were obviously pro Johnny Depp, but they couldn't publicly come out and say it because they were worried about how the media was going to label them. So some of the reactions from the media was crazy. Like, I think we played the one from The Root earlier this week, which was absolutely astounding, about how The Root said the real victim of this whole situation is black women, because if a rich white woman couldn't win in court over an allegation, then how are black women going to win? She's a rich, pretty white girl. That means that black women are even bigger victims in the eyes of the public. So it's like, wow, find a way. You somehow found a way to make this about yourself and in a situation that had absolutely nothing to do with you whatsoever. But obviously, there was some people that were saying that in the media. You had people on Twitter that were trending "me poo." I would think that's probably the most damaging thing about this whole thing for Amber Heard. Not the fact that she owes millions upon millions of dollars. It's the fact that everyone's now going to know her as the girl who shit on Johnny Depp's bed.
Yeah,
and that's going to be like her lasting legacy.
For you to sit on their bed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, how does that thought even come into your mind? It's like, oh, I'm so pissed off. I'm gonna shit on their bed.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if any of you guys actually saw like the pictures of that alleged poo. But my reaction to that was, if that came out of my body, I would probably want to go to like the hospital to get checked out to make sure I wasn't dying, because that definitely doesn't look very, very healthy, ma'am. Like you may want to check and make sure you don't have like colon cancer or something like that, because that's pretty like disgusting or whatnot.
But weird fancy foods that they eat.
Yeah, but I mean, it was very interesting catching the reaction. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I might have to double back because it's not pulling it up on my end for some reason. You know, I'll try to pop it up here. Let me see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bear with me. It's like I had it up here, but for some reason the StreamYards wasn't working. I was trying to pop it back up. Like, perfect time. We were going so smooth, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh.
Man, it happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it ain't easy.
Yeah, for some reason it won't pop back up. So all I was basically going to go through like a few tweets saying that people were coming out supporting Johnny Depp. I think some people were calling out Jason Momoa, of all people, who's obviously Aquaman. He has like Aquaman 2 coming out because he went on social media to like both the responses of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and didn't make any like public knowledge, like didn't make any kind of public statement like whatsoever. Oh, that is actually something that I can bring up real quick. I don't know why this one isn't working, but let me see if I can pull this one up instead. It'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we were talking about on Wednesday as well. That the media is not really saying, well, Johnny Depp actually won the case. No, it was like, it's a bit of both. So it wasn't really a 100% loss for Amber Heard. And it's like, that is not true at all.
Yeah, this was definitely a loss for Amber Heard in every way, shape, or form. You can think of it like reputation-wise, joke-wise, monetarily. Like, she pretty much lost any possible way she possibly could. So this was the statement that she made after the verdict, which she lost. She says, so get a load of this. The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that a mountain of evidence was still not enough to stand up to disproportionate power and influence and sway of my ex-husband. He said, I'm even more disappointed at what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It's a setback to the clock. He said, it sets the clock back to a time where a woman who spoke up and out could get publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women isn't to be taken seriously. Keep in mind that the whole fact that the jury found that she lied about all of her allegations, by the way. So I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech and ignore the evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK. I'm sad I lost the case. I'm even sadder that it still seems like I've lost the right to what I thought as an American to speak openly and freely. It's like, you do realize you just lost a defamation lawsuit, right? And just listening to that statement, not only did she learn nothing, but she's doubling down on what could consider to be the same defamation that got her to lose the case in the first place. And to follow this up, let me make sure I have the right one here. And just to conclude this one, I'll put Johnny Depp's statement up, even though this is very, very hard to read, because I don't know if he typed this out in like a 1970 typewriter. Essentially what he says that, that's definitely true. 6 years ago, my life, the life of my children, and the life of those closest to me, and else the lives of the people who for many, many years have supported me and believed in me were forever changed. All in a blink of an eye. False and very serious criminal accusations were levied at me via the media, which triggered an endless barrage of hateful content. Although no charges were ever brought against me, it already traveled around the world twice within a nanosecond and had seismic impact on my life and my career. 6 years later, the jury gave me my life back. I'm truly humbled. My decision to pursue this cause, knowing very well the height of the legal hurdle that I will be facing and the inevitability worldwide of the spectacle into my life, was only made after considerable thought. From the very beginning, the goal was to bring this case to reveal the truth, regardless of the outcome. Speaking the truth was something that I owed my children, to all the people who remained steadfast and supported me. I feel at peace knowing I have finally accomplished that. And then in the second page here, it says, I have been overwhelmed by the outpouring support of love and the colossal support of kindness from around the world. I hope that my quest to have the truth told will help others, men or women, find themselves in my situation, that supporting them to never give up. I also hope that the position will now return to innocent until proven guilty, both within the courts and the media. I wish to acknowledge the noble work of the judge, the jurors, the court staff, and the sheriffs who have sacrificed their own time to get to this point, to my diligent, unwavering legal team who did an extraordinary job in helping me share the truth. Best is yet to come. A new chapter in my life has finally begun. Veritas, I think he wrote something in Latin there. I can't read that. But he says that truth never perishes. And then Johnny Depp signed with that one right there. So at the end of the day, Johnny Depp won. I don't know how much this is going to change for him in Hollywood, because obviously there's still progressives that are going to die on this hill. They're going to choose to die on this hill. So even though he won this case, they'll still treat him as if he's a domestic abuser, because that's just the hill that they're going to die on. So who knows what this means for his career? Maybe some of the studios turn back their initial, blacklist of him moving forward. Maybe he gets his career back. We don't know. That's still left to be seen. And we're still left to see exactly where Amber Heard goes from here as well. So final thoughts on this story, and we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. We'll start with you, Cassie.
Well, it's definitely, my guy friends are definitely like cheering about this, because I have a friend that's dealing with the court system when it comes to the mother of one of his kids, and no matter how good of a parent he proves that he can be, just gets shit on just because of what is between his legs. And it's a perpetual thing that goes on in society, where there is unfairness, and sometimes it does get put on guys and sometimes it does get put on girls. And unfortunately, it's something that happens, and it's more than just with Johnny Depp. And I just hope that this isn't the only situation where the right thing does happen, because if it's just Johnny Depp and then this is ignored again, it'd be a shame, because this kind of stuff does happen to guys. And I just find it hilarious. One of my friends said this, that the one part of Amber Heard's case that she did end up winning, the jury said that she won, and then they said that she deserved nothing, no money from it. So that to me was funny, that she was apparently defamed, but they said no, nothing for you. But other than that, it's just a good story to see that, at least in the situation, like I said, not a fan of Johnny, but the right thing did occur, and I don't think that his story should end just because of false accusations. And unfortunately, a lot of people do deal with false accusations every single day, and it sucks.
All right, Josh.
That's just the one thing. Well, I 100% agree with that as well. But here's the thing, though. There's one thing that I think it was Eric July that said, and I think it was on Twitter. Probably he uploaded a video as well. I didn't watch the video, but I got the message, and it was like something like this, like paraphrasing: "Don't get this twisted. Johnny Depp is rich. He can actually afford the legal team to fight this battle." So basically, at the end of the day, just stay away from crazy, because if you see all of these red flags, just don't stay. Just leave immediately, because otherwise you might lose the case, even if you're innocent.
Absolutely. And TW, wrap this one.
Honestly, like I said, I don't really have much of an opinion on this. I'm glad, Johnny, beat this, even if he does seem like the kind of guy that loves the smell of his own farts. Yeah, I'm glad he was able to beat. I'm glad he was able to beat this, man, because it just goes to show that all this Me Too bullshit, all this false accusation shit, it ain't gonna always work.
Definitely. And like I said, as we've proven here, Me Too took a massive blow here. And as you can see, there's a lot of progressives out there that aren't happy with that. But hey, maybe certain things need to die. And that's probably the takeaway from this story. So that was our last story of the night. We're at the 2-hour mark. So I think this is the good time to go ahead and wrap this one up. So I want to go ahead and let you guys promote what you guys have coming up before we head on out of here. So I'm going to go ahead and give the spotlight to Miss Cassie Cage so she can tell everyone for the world to see what she has going on with her channel and her life. So tell her.
All right. Well, first thing is that my friend Gatling Hunter wanted to tell you that he loves your American flag in the background.
Nice.
But yeah, he did appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, you can follow me on YouTube, Cult Classic Cage. I love to talk about films and video games mostly. And some videos I had up that were interesting, I think, to me was like my 12 most watched films. I like to hear what everyone's most watched films are for whatever obscure reason. And another one I did was talking about a serious situation where video games are constantly blamed for shootings, and I kind of had a little bit of a rant on that. But it's the month where we get a bunch of announcements for games. It's June, so I'm definitely going to be making lots of content talking about that. So if you're into any video games at all, follow me over on Cult Classic Cage. I'm probably going to actually stream on Twitch maybe tonight or tomorrow. Follow me over at Twitch, and we can play games, talk, just chill, all that good stuff. And that's also Cult Classic Cage. And if you just want to talk to me casually, I'm a regular person. I talk to whoever wants to talk to me. Follow me over on Twitter and hit me up and we could talk.
All right, definitely. If you guys haven't subscribed to her channel, definitely do that. She has lots of great content coming up. Let's move over to TW. What do you have coming down the pipe?
I was about to say Josh could go ahead of me because I got a little bit a lot to say, but you can go ahead, Josh, man.
Well, Josh, the spotlight's been thrown on you, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm probably the only one who doesn't really have like a channel or anything. But if you like good content, I just self-plug still a little bit. Go to Bounding in the Comics, and you can find great articles by Jacob, by Ryan, by Spencer, by John, both of them. and that's the thing, right? So if you want to support the website, sure, go to Bounding in the Comics. You can follow the Bounding on Twitter as well. I think it's just called Bounding Comics. And you can follow me on Twitter if you want. I can't even remember what the tag is for my account. I just don't really
it's your Twitter.
I don't really care. I barely use Twitter, so I'm like, whatever, right? But yeah, that's what it is. And I'm again humbled to be here. Thank you for the invite. And that's basically what I got to say.
All right, man.
You ready to go?
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at TW Bootyhunter. You can follow me on YouTube also at TW Bootyhunter as well. Follow me on Twitch as TW Bootyhunter, where on Twitch I basically do like on Monday nights I do Bootyhunter streams, which along with Society and I guess whoever else wants to join. I usually can invite up to 10 people at a time, and we just talk about shit, just spitball topics and all that shit, shoot the shit, kind of like what we do here, talk about trending topics and all that. Tuesdays, I just react to music videos or random shit on the internet or whatever you want me to react to. And then Wednesdays, which are my gaming streams, I'm actually going to be playing GTA San Andreas, not that crappy remaster, but the OG version for the PlayStation 2. And as for my YouTube, you can follow me on there. I talk about a variety of things: music, movies, video games. Even like even TV shows. So yeah, man, follow me on that. Follow me on all them shits. I'm around. So there you go.
All right then. And then let me go ahead and bring myself on here and let you guys know what's coming up. Obviously, if you guys enjoyed the podcast this week, we'll be back here next Friday night once again to talk about the entertainment and movie news of the week. So I hope we guys see you guys here next week. Tomorrow night is Saturday night. It's our movie night on Twitch. This is only a Twitch exclusive. So if you guys check in the description below, I have a link to the Twitch account. Go over there and follow us over there. Tomorrow night, we'll be doing movie night. You'll see a few of us here from this stream on that movie night. Oh, yeah, by the way, the film is going to be 1997's Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. So it's going to be a very interesting film. But a few of us are going to be on here. Trap Queen is going to be back on the stream tomorrow night for the movie. We got a couple other guests. And we also can confirm that for a lot of you guys out there who are fans of pro wrestling, that Brad Shepard will be a part of the stream tomorrow night. And we'll talk a little bit about him with a lot of the work that he's been doing within that community as well. So Twitch tomorrow night it's either going to be 9 or 10. I'll confirm with you guys. Follow me on Twitter. I'll confirm with you exactly when the time is going to be. But it's definitely going to be either 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And then we'll have some fun tomorrow. Because Saturdays are our fun night. We just go there, hang out, chill out, and then watch some good movies. Or we'll talk. We'll make fun of some of the bad stuff that we see in the film or whatnot. So, like I said, all that stuff is in the links below. Hope to see you guys there tomorrow night. Hopefully next week I can see you here in the podcast. A quick little note, if you're watching us on Twitch, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my man Mac Malley on MMA On Point. So we'll be rating his channel over there. So go say hi to Mac Malley. And for you guys here on YouTube, we'll see you next week. Hopefully you guys have a good week. Hope you guys watch something that doesn't depress the crap out of you, like some of the stuff that I watched this week. And hopefully you guys have some fun. So till then, Barroom episode 1 is in the books. Hope to see you for episode 2. Good night, everybody.